Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing some Dustin test hands. So I'm really excited for this deck because basically what you're doing in this deck is summoning out your copy of Star Dustin to be able to OTK your opponent, and this deck does one thing that's really amazing. It actually throws monsters on your opponent's side of the field and then OTKs them with those monsters that you give them. It kind of makes me think of Ojama Trio, but if you built an entire deck based around Ojama Trio, which is really cool because it gives your opponent a whole bunch of monsters, and then every time you destroy one of them, it actually gives them a downgrade and they lose an effect or something, or they get a backlash for you destroying your own monster, which is a really cool effect. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, definitely hit that bell so you can become part of the notification squad, and check out the Patreon down in the description below where you have all sorts of awesome rewards like getting your name description in a single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this because this deck is really actually fun. It's a deck that I've actually been building for a long time and kind of just threw together with a bunch of commons and some hand traps and extravagance to be able to make this deck actually work. So it's really interesting the way that the deck works, and you can put anything that you want pretty much into the extra deck. I'm playing Pot of Desires in this deck, or not Pot of Desires, but Pot of Extravagance in this deck because it makes the deck work really well to dig and just draw extra cards. So let's go ahead and quickly pile shuffle the deck so we can get straight on into it because it's a super fun deck that's actually really interesting in the way that it plays, because you're basically, like I said, just throwing 5 monsters on your opponent's side of the field, or however many monsters that you can throw on your opponent's side of the field, and then OTKing them either with Goblin King or your copy of your Star Dustin, depending on how many monsters they have. So you're going to have to kind of vary on how many monsters they have. Now this deck, I will say, does better going second, but I will try and show you guys some going first hands on the way that it plays, because you can OTK your opponent in one turn if you go second. But if you lose the coin toss, we're going to show you guys what happens. So let's go ahead and draw, and we're going to draw into a copy of Ash Blossom, a copy of Goblin King, Stygian Security, White Dustin, and a copy of Infinite Impermanence. So this is not bad at all to be able to draw into, because you're going to be able to defend yourself quite well actually with this particular hand. So what you're going to do with this particular hand is very, very simplistic if you're going first. So you're just going to set this. You're going to set this one card. This deck is not crazy the way that it functions. It's not combo. It's not, I mean, it's combo, but it's not insane combo. But we're going to go ahead and set the copy of Stygian Patrol. Now, once your opponent goes, you're going to try and basically stop them from making an insane board. So we're going to go ahead and drop Impermanence and Ash Blossom against your opponent to make sure that they don't make an insanely big board against us, because that would be a real shame, because it's going to help us, it's going to kind of prevent us from OTKing them. The more monsters they have, the harder it is to OTK. So what we're going to do is we're going to let our opponent attack into this copy of Stygian Security. So once they attack into the Stygian Security, it has the ability that if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 1 Fiend monster from the deck. So depending on how many monsters they have, depends on how far I want to ride this out. I'm special summoning more Stygian Securities. So if my opponent has 2 monsters on the field, I'm not going to use this effect. If they only have 1 monster on the field, however, or 3 monsters, I'm going to special summon a second Stygian Security, let them attack into the second one, and then I'm going to special summon out my final monster that I want them to destroy to resolve the effect. So for conversation's sake, we're just going to say that my opponent has 2 monsters on the field, which these dice are going to represent the monsters that they have above these zones. That's very important. We're not going to go into the extract. It's not a big deal. So we're going to go ahead and say that they have 2 monsters on their side of the field. So we're going to go ahead and special summon out to our side of the field now House Dustin. So House Dustin is a really weird card. If you guys have never read Dustins, you're probably going to look at the cards outside of House Dustin and go, oh, that's bad. But when you read House Dustin, you'll actually understand why the deck is really good. So what House Dustin does is, when this face-up card on the field is destroyed by your opponent's card, either by battle or while it's face-up at the start of the damage step, or by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon any Dustin monsters of your choice from your hand and or deck to anywhere on the field, but you must special summon an equal number. So I'm going to say this is in the extra monster zone, and this is not in the extra monster zone. This dice right here is not, this one is. So we're going to be able to special summon 4 Dustins to our opponent's side of the field. So we're going to go ahead and special summon to our side of the field a copy of Yellow Dustin. We're going to give ourselves a copy of Green Dustin. We're going to give ourselves a copy of White Dustin, a copy of, say, where is it? Blue Dustin. And we're going to give our opponent a copy of also, we're going to move this down here, white Dustin. We're going to give them a blue Dustin. We're going to give them a yellow Dustin. And we're going to give them a copy of, where is it? A red Dustin. It doesn't super matter which ones we give them because we're just going to be able to pop off anyways. So yes, they're going to special summon in attack position because I get to pick the position that they're special summoned in, which is going to be super helpful for us to be able to special summon them onto our side of the field, as long as I don't think it actually says anything about the position that you special summon them to. But you must special summon equal numbers. No, you special summon equal numbers, but it doesn't matter which position you summon them in because I'm special summoning, I get to pick, which is super helpful. So once my opponent goes and they end their turn, if they don't link them away, we're going to be able to really pop off, which is going to be super helpful. So we're going to go ahead and draw into our next turn, and we're going to draw into another copy of House Dustin. And if our opponent doesn't link these away, we're going to be able to just normal summon out our copy of Goblin King. And since there is eight Fiend monsters on the side of the field, anywhere on the field, I just swing into a single Dustin and I win the game. Or if it's my turn, I can just link these away and go into a link 4 if I want to go into a link 4, like a copy of Access Code Talker, or a copy of Boral Sword. I can go into Boral Sword, I can go into Appaloosa, I can go to Topologic Trispania, I can go into Boral Sword again if I want to. It's totally up to you how you do this and whatever you summon. Or you can just go into a copy of the Relinquished Anima, gobble up a monster, then go into Link Rebo with another one, or excuse me, go into Relinquished Anima and gobble up a monster, and then link it away and go into a copy of the Boral Sword Dragon and OTK your opponent from there, or link climb into a copy of your choice between the Boral Sword and the Access Code, depending on what your opponent has, if they do link these away. But if they don't, you can do something simple and normal summon the copy of Goblin King and swing and win. And that's pretty much it. But that's why it's really important for you to go second, is because if you do this during your turn and you have a copy of Goblin King already normal summoned to your side of the field, then you can really pop off because you can just swing into an opponent's monster and win the game because you're doing it in the battle phase. Like, for example, if you did this on your turn and this was already on the field and you swung, this got destroyed, you gave your opponent all these Dustins, and then you put these on the field and swung again, you'd instantly win the game. So it can pretty much be a OTK deck, which is what's really insane. But let's go ahead and do another test hand. I'm actually going to show you guys really quickly the cool thing while I have all these monsters out on the field. Let's just leave these on the field to show you guys the really cool thing about the Dustin deck that's kind of neat. So let's go ahead and put these back really quick and leave them on the field. Let's put the white one there. Let's put this one here, and then that one there. Okay, so if we have a hand like this, but this was interchanged out with a copy of the Star Dustin on our side of the field, it has some amazing effects to go off with, because you contribute all the Dustins on your side of the field to summon out this card, and what this does is for every monster that's tributed to summon this card, it gains 1,000 attack points. And then it also has a really neat effect that your opponent cannot flip, special summon any monsters or activate set spell or trap cards on their field, and if you control more monsters than you do, you destroy this card. So they're obviously going to control more monsters than I do, and I'm just going to start swinging with this over and over again at 4,000, 4,000, 4,000, and 4,000 every single time. And we also have a card in the deck called, we have 2 cards in the deck called Level Limit Area A and Final Attack Order as well, which is going to make my opponent stay in attack position with all the Dustins that I give them. So if you open up a copy of either one of these, a copy of House Dustin or a copy of, basically you want to open up this. You want to open up any of these 3 cards in your hand to be able to pop off. You want to open up this, like this. You want to open up these three, or a combination between these two, or these two. You have to open up like this, or it can be like this. You can interchange it, but you need one from each row to be able to really pop off in the deck and make the deck work really well. But you have so many ways of getting to these cards, it's really easy. And if you don't open up a copy of one of these, you can still OTK your opponent if you go second, but those really help if you have to go first, because then your opponent doesn't get the opportunity to link play. And the deck works a lot better against decks that don't link play, because the deck can really pop off. Now, I will say to you guys something really important about this deck. Make sure that every single time you play this deck, you pile shuffle, because if you don't and you summon out all those Dustins to your opponent's side of the field and then you summon them all to yours and you grab them all up like I did, and you don't pile shuffle in between rounds, you're going to have a really bad time because you're going to draw into all the Dustins that you don't want to draw into. Drawing into 2 or 3 of them along with a House Dustin or Stygian Security is okay, but drawing into all 4 or 5 of them is just horrendous and terrible, because you just don't want to do that at any given time. It's just really, really, really bad, because you're going to basically have a bad time because you've drawn a complete brick. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck up again and see what we can pull off, because the deck, like I said, it's not going to win any like ARGs or, you know, Worlds or something like that right now with the support that it has, but it is going to take games by surprise, and it's a fun deck that you can play with. So let's go ahead and draw again. So we're going to draw into a Goblin King, a copy of Where Art Thou, a copy of Ash Blossom, Star Dustin, and a Jack in the Hand. So Jack in the Hand is a neat card in this deck too, and I'm going to show you why. So we're going to go ahead and drop Jack in the Hand. And so Jack in the Hand is a cool card because what this card does is it lets you reveal 3 level 1 monsters in your deck. Now, usually I would reveal a Star Dustin, but we have Star Dustin in our hand, so I might just reveal a Star Dustin anyways. You're going to reveal Stygian Security, House Dustin, and the Star Dustin in your hand. And if your opponent's not familiar with Dustins, what they're going to do is they're going to pick one of these because they're going to think, oh, it's terrible. They're probably going to give you this. They're going to take this, or vice versa. If they're playing anything with Needle Fiber, they're going to take this. They're going to give you this, and then this is going to go to the deck because they're going to go, oh, they're just going to special summon a couple of Dustins, and I'm going to get link material, so I'm going to give them this. So you're going to go ahead and shuffle this back. So the way that this card works, if you guys didn't catch that, the way that it actually works is you reveal 3 level 1 monsters in your deck. Your opponent gets to add 1 to their hand. They get to add 1 to your hand, and then the last one goes back to the deck. So it's kind of neat in the aspect that it's going to put a card in your hand, and you're getting something out of their hand to get it to their side of the field, which is going to be super helpful that if they do decide to normal summon this, then you attack into it, you actually get the search, which is kind of neat. And if they don't, then you just gave them a brick with the Star Dustin. If they pick either of these, you're fine. If you didn't already have Star Dustin, you're still fine. And you had the Where Art Thou to grab exactly what you needed. So we're going to go ahead and say that our opponent has 1 monster on the field and they passed. We're just going to go with very simple play to show you guys the maximum potential of the deck, and it's in the extra monster zone. They summon a monster in the extra monster zone and we're going to pop off. So what you're going to do with this particular hand is they get this card. This is in their hand. It's out of the way. So they're going to get that, and you're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of the House Dustin. Now, it doesn't matter at all how many attack points this has. It doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't have 8,000 attack, you're fine, and you're going to be able to OTK your opponent. So now that we've normal summoned out the copy of the House Dustin, you can go ahead and activate the copy of Where Art Thou if you want to, but you already have the copy of Star Dustin and Goblin King in your hand. Now, since you have the copy of Goblin King in your hand, if you didn't have the Stardust in your hand, heck yeah, resolve this and grab the copy of the Star Dustin, because it's going to help you resolve and OTK your opponent. But now what we're going to do, if you don't need this, just keep it in your hand, swing into this card, and then once you do, you're going to go ahead and do exactly what we did before, mid-battle phase, and you're going to special summon out all the Dustins that you possibly can from the deck to your side of the field and your opponent's side of the field. The only thing about them is they have to equal the same amount. So you have to special summon 4 or 5 to your side and 4 or 5 to your opponent's side, which is very important for the effect to go off. So we're going to special summon a bunch of them. It doesn't matter. They don't have to have all different names. You just special summon the equal numbers to the field, which is going to be very important for the card. We're just going to put this down. It's in the extra monster zone, so we'll put it right there. But you have to special summon the same amount. And you can actually special summon House Dustin as well if you want to summon House Dustin. So this is what a field actually would look like at maximum potential for the deck to go off. Now, when you go into main phase 2, after you've done all this, you're going to go, hey, guess what? Tribute all these, and I'm going to summon Star Dustin, and now you can't special summon, you can't activate your set spells or traps, you pretty much can't do anything, and I have an Ash as well, which is going to be really fun. So you did take a little bit of damage, but it's still not that bad. because during the next turn, you're going to pass. They're going to pass because they can't do anything, and then you're going to draw into your next card. They're probably going to switch all these to defense position, but that's fine. You can wait them out at this point. It doesn't matter because they can't really do anything. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Pot of Extravagance, activate the copy of Pot of Extravagance. We don't care about the extra deck at all, so we're just going to banish these. I don't care what they are. I'm not even going to look at them. They don't matter. We're just going to draw into 2, which we drew into another Extravagance and an Imperm. And then we're going to normal summon out our copy of Goblin King. As long as our opponent doesn't have more than we do, we're fine. So we're going to go ahead and pass, maybe activate the copy of Were Arfdal to dig through the deck a little bit to make it a little bit smaller, and add a copy of Goblin King from deck to hand, and then pass turn. So once we pass, we're going to go ahead and let him keep those monsters, draw for turn, and draw in a final attack order. Now we pass again, and then during our opponent's turn, we activate the final attack order, switch all these cards to attack position, and then they're either going to surrender, or we're going to hit them with every single one of these cards, and we're going to win. So we're going to draw into the next turn, and it is a slow process sometimes if they switch them to defense, but you still can pop off. So we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, and we're going to draw into this, and we're going to go ahead and normal summon out the copy of Goblin King now. And once you summon out the second Goblin King, this card is gaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 2 7,000 attack point beaters because they don't gain for their own attack points, but they gain for every other fiend. And this is at 5,000, and it did take you a little bit to establish this, but you still had this that was locking your opponent down, that if they can't deal with this, then they're not going to be able to do anything anyways. So you kind of just sat and waited until you got the exact card you needed, and you had the Extravagance and the Imperm to stop them if they try anything, and you have the Ash as well to be able to just negate anything that they do. You have this to be able to draw, so you have a lot of different plays to pop off in the deck, which is what's really cool. So I think that's pretty much it for that test hand. Let's see what we can just draw out of the deck and see if we can actually pull something crazy off for one last test hand and see if we can pull anything crazy off. So like I said, you don't really care about the extra deck. If there's anything really expensive in there that you guys don't want to play, don't hesitate to drop it. If you don't have access code, don't play access code. If you don't have Boral Sword, play Boral Load. If you don't have Boral Load, play Zero Boros. If you don't have Zero Boros, play Avermax. If you don't have Avermax, play Deco Talker. It doesn't matter. As long as you have Link monsters, as long as this entire extra deck is Link monsters, you're fine. It doesn't matter. As long as it's stuff that you potentially could summon that would be decent against your opponent. It doesn't even have to be great. It just can be decent against your opponent. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck up again and draw. So we're going to draw into a double summon, Stygian Security. We're already fine because we have Stygian Security. We have a copy of Impermanence. We have a copy of the Star Dustin, and we're going to have a copy of Level Limit Area A. So this is a really, really good hand to just pop off and be able to get exactly what we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set the copy of Level Limit Area A and set the copy of our Stygian Security on our side of the field, and we're going to pass because we have the copy of Impermanence that we can also set if we want to. And then we have Star Dustin, and we have the copy of the double summon. So when our opponent tries to go off, we're going to go ahead and flip the copy of Infinite Impermanence. They're going to attack into this, which depending on how many monsters they have, which if they have 3, I'm going to show you guys what happens if they have 3 on their side of the field. If they have 3 monsters on their side of the field, they're going to attack with this one first. Just say they're going to attack with that one first. It doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't guarantee it. They're going to attack with this one next, and then it's going to go to the grave, and then it's going to resolve its effect because it's a level 1. And then you're going to special summon out House Dustin now, and when you special summon out House Dustin now, you're going to have the ability to attack into this one, and then this one goes off and attacks into the House Dustin. Even if they don't, you can then attack during your turn into them. And then once you send the copy of House Dustin to the graveyard, its effect is going to resolve. One's in the extra monster zone, 2 of them are not. You're going to get 3 Dustins, and they're going to get 3 Dustins. So you give them the white Dustin, you give them the yellow Dustin, and you give them the blue Dustin. It doesn't super matter which ones you give them. And then you're going to get the yellow, the blue, and the white as well. I just summon them into the same zones so I know which ones go where. We're going to go ahead. I guess it's my ADD coming out. We're going to go ahead and shuffle this up again, and then we're going to pass. They're going to pass over to us because they can't do anything, and they're going to go, oh, I'm just going to shuffle them to defense. Now you're not. I'm going to activate Level Limit Area A. We're going to draw for turn, and we're going to draw into an Impermanence. And then at this point, you're going to stop them with the Impermanence if you need to during the next turn. And then we're going to tribute all of these and summon a 3K Dustin on our side of the field and swing one time into whatever Dustin you want. and then you're going to set the impermanence on your side of the field or deal with a problematic monster that they have here first that you can swing over. It doesn't super matter. Maybe this one was problematic. Maybe it was a 3k beat stick that you didn't want to deal with. So now you're going to pass again, draw into your next turn, draw into a house Dustin, and then you can normal summon the house Dustin to your side of the field. And if you want to, you can swing with the house Dustin. Since they have one less monster on the field, you're going to get a Dustin and they're going to get a Dustin again. And it's going to eat up another card that they could potentially have with the star Dustin. So they're going to get another Dustin on their side of the field, which you can get another house Dustin if you want to, and they can get a green Dustin if they want to get to their side of the field, which is going to be super cool just to get another Dustin on their side of the field to start slowly eating up their zones so they can't even respond back to you. We then go for our next turn, draw into another impermanence. You have both of these impermanences now to stop them, which is going to be super nice. So that's pretty much how the deck functions, just to show you guys. It's a really interesting deck, and I'm really glad I got to show you this deck because it's weird, and at the same time, it's really fun because it just like surprises people. And what's really cool about this entire deck is if you notice, if you ever look at the Dustin cards, they were all released in different packs, all the way from Abyss Rising all the way to Primal Origins. I think was the last pack that they released Star Dustin in. And the deck didn't have a strategy until Star Dustin actually came out, which was really weird about the entire concept of the deck. It was just like, okay, I have a bunch of random monsters on my side of the field, and Abyss Rising was like, okay, you can special summon all these out, and they hinted at all these Dustins, but they didn't ever release them, and then they released Star Dustin like way later in Zexal, and then we actually had a legit strategy for the deck. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell what you think of these test hands down in the comments down below, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below as well if you guys want to get any deck profile requests, your name in the description, or getting assigned cards in the mail, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.